Have you ever been in a relationship in which it just didn't work? Perhaps you tried and you stayed in the relationship way too long, hoping things would change because you really wanted it and you weren't willing to give up. If the relationship didn't work, it's not your fault. It's not the other person's fault necessarily either. Most likely, it's because you two weren't compatible. It's challenging knowing whether or not a man is right for you when you don't have a clear picture of yourself. I know lots of people, myself included, who've taken various personality tests ranging from Cosmo to the Clifton Strength Finders, and because of one particular reason or another, the result wasn't accurate. The 16 personalities in Myers-Briggs tends to confuse more than 80% of people. Many who've taken the test several times, and yet they continue to come up with different results each and every time. This isn't necessarily because the test is wrong or people's personality has changed. Most people, quite frankly, don't have a thorough understanding of themselves. They also have different views of what certain words mean. Now, 4 is easier to understand than 16, so by breaking the 16 personalities down to 4, the personality types I'm going to present to you will make it easier for you to figure out which is yours. Knowing your own personality type and understanding the other 3 proves to be beneficial when it comes to quickly deciding whether or not someone is right for you. I've gotten so good at this that I can tell just from looking at a dating profile whether or not we'd be a good match. I'm sure it's why I rarely have bad dates and why I enjoy myself on the date and like to get to know others. I know up front how the date will go. I'm able to connect with the right person quickly and easily, which saves me a lot of time, energy, and frustration. This area is one of the areas I focus on with my clients because this aspect allows them to bring in the right one to them quicker and easier than ever before. My clients see and understand the value in having a clear picture of themselves, and many are now in happy, loving relationships as a result. Knowing this doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. Like everything else, it's a process and a practice. Learning about yourself is an ongoing journey, and the practice of doing daily things, including meditation and visualization, allows you to slow down and know yourself better. Raising your vibrational energy brings you what you want, and being open to receiving it, that's the last step. As most of you know, I had 2 marriages and both worked out for a while. But because I didn't know enough about myself, I didn't attract the person who was, well, actually I did attract the person who was in alignment with me at that time. The thing is, I didn't know enough about myself, so I aligned with someone who I thought I was. I wasn't true to the real me that I kept hidden so well. Does this sound like you? I tried to fit in and be like the men because his personality type is the norm. It's the most common. It's the type of my father, but it wasn't my type. I became sad and felt all alone. Eventually, Source intervened, and I discovered other women who were on the same path as I. I paid an exorbitant amount of money, but it was worth it, on a life-changing program, and I worked on myself and began to grow and evolve. My partner didn't. I came to the realization that the relationship wasn't working, and I was slowly dying inside. When one person is growing, maturing, and changing, and the other person isn't, a relationship cannot survive. It doesn't mean that the relationship was a failure. It doesn't mean that either of us is a failure. We simply weren't the right match. This is why it's so important to know yourself. In Shakespeare's Hamlet, Polonius said, "To thine own self be true," and it makes sense. Aristotle said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of wisdom." I wish I had figured this out earlier. Working on yourself in between relationships is the smartest thing you can do, and so much better than jumping into another relationship. I have a good friend who's looking for a loving relationship, but he's attracting the wrong women. He's not willing to work on himself, so he's out there dating and coming up empty-handed. It's unfortunate because he's a nice, fun person, but it makes sense. He comes to me for snippets of advice and guidance, looking for a quick fix. He has a few dates with a woman, and she ends it within a month or two, which makes him more sad, lonely, and frustrated. He doesn't know his personality type, which has him casting his net too wide and too deep. If he knew who he was, if he knew his personality and the type that was in alignment with him, he could attract the right woman for him easier and quicker. There's 4 distinct personality types. There is the administrator, who is the orderly, organized type. They value rules and systems and consistency. There's the optimist, who's spontaneous and independent. They value independence and freedom and autonomy. There's the empath, the nurturing, connected type, who values communication, compassion, and relationships. And then there's the realist, the science and mathematical type, who values thinking, knowledge, never gives up, and intent on figuring out things no matter how long it takes. We all have a little bit of each one of them in us, but one of them tends to stand out more than other and resonates with us. Once you know that, it makes it so much easier and more fun to attract the right person to you. Did you figure out which one you are? Was it easy to discern, or did you waffle between 2 or 3? Figure out which one you are and post in the comments below. If you need guidance, I'm happy to offer you some tips on how to attract the right person based on who you are. My intention is to help you know yourself and attract the right man to you while having fun and doing it in your pleasure. If you'd like to learn more about personalities, you can go to daretodatedifferently.com, sign up for my tips,